You're very welcome to our Fair Play GAA show in conjunction with DMC Events. I'd like to welcome Sinéad Ennis. Sinéad, you're very welcome.
Thank you.
And Declan Lynch. Declan, you're very welcome here this evening.
Thanks.
And of course, we're going to talk all things GAA. So Sinéad, tell us why we're here.
Okay, well, I suppose if we give a bit of background about the campaign, and I'm sure many people tuning in tonight will be aware of the Fair Play for Ulster Gaels campaign that we've been fronting for over a year now. And again, I won't need to tell people tuning in here the frustration that many Gaels and many viewers out there feel when they don't see Gaelic games reflected by the likes of the BBC. So we decided that it was something that I really wanted to tackle, that Sinn Féin wanted to tackle. So for the last year, we've been meeting with the BBC, we've been meeting with the GAA, with RT as well, to see what the issues are, because I think, again, I have to stress, BBC sports output is very good in terms of soccer and other sports, but I think what we want to see and what Gaels want to see, we want to see parity, we want to see the games reflected by the broadcaster that we pay our licence fee to. So it's all about, as the campaign name suggests, fair play, and it's about parity, and it's about the biggest participatory sport on this island, not just in the north, across the island, reflected by the broadcaster. So it's about getting the BBC to a point where there's parity among all their four core sports.
Absolutely agree with you, Sinéad. And Declan, tell us who you are first.
So I'm Declan Lynch. I'm currently the senior football captain for Antrim. I play my club football for Lav Jarag, who won our first championship in many years in 2007. I've played football and hurling for Antrim over the years, and I've been part of the Antrim panel for 7-8 years now. So that's a wee quick background.
So there you are. So it's 2017, not 2007.
No,
2017. Well, listen, you're very welcome here this evening, and of course, what we're going to do is we're going to talk all things GAA right across the whole of the country. We're going to talk Division 1, 2, 3 and 4, and then we're going to start with Antrim, and then we're going to work our way back down to Armagh, and then into Division 1, and then we're just going to talk basically about every sport and every participation that all our Gaels take part in. Scór, ladies football, Camogie, everything. So we're here tonight, and it's going to be a packed show, and we have to just keep going here. So I have to say, we're going to go to Division 1, and if we look through Division 1 here, we see Kerry sitting at the top. They've got a new manager, and Mayo. Now I have to say, Mayo in Croke Park on Saturday night were very disappointing. Very disappointing. I thought that Mayo, the way they were going, they were starting the show, and then they went up into Croke Park and they didn't perform. They just didn't perform.
Yeah, it seemed like it was the curse of Croke Park again in terms of Mayo. I'd watched them the first 3 games, and they were mighty impressive. They've brought a lot of youth through, but it seemed to be when they come up against Dublin, they froze.
Dublin.
Dublin are only kicking back into gear now.
And we'll talk about Dublin and Croke Park later on. And of course, Dublin, Galway, Tyrone, Roscommon, Cavan and Monaghan. And Sinéad, Monaghan got off, they beat Dublin, and now they're sitting bottom of the table, and they're looking at the wrong end of the table.
I mean, that's probably a big surprise, because Monaghan probably would have been hotly tipped, not least of all for further into the summer, looking towards the All Ireland series and the Championship series. So for them to find themselves in the position they are on the table, I'm sure will be a bit of a worry for them.
Well, yeah, I think Monaghan would be very disappointed, because with the great result against Dublin in Clonus a couple of weeks ago, they would have been saying, okay, and I would imagine Monaghan would have been targeting the Super 8s. And Declan, will come back to you on the Super 8s and the structures of the GAA and how all that pans out. But I suppose Kerry, Mayo, Dublin, Galway, Tyrone, those are the teams you'd expect to see top of the division.
Absolutely. I think Kerry have been the team that's caught most people's eyes this year. They've brought through a raft of players who have won numerous minor championships. Sean O'Shea playing for them in centre half forward, who's been, in my eyes, probably the best footballer in Ireland at the minute. And I think we'll see a better All Ireland for it come the summer. I think they have the potential to really put it up to Dublin this year.
I absolutely think you're going to be looking at Dublin and you're going to be looking at Kerry. I still think Mayo's going to be there. We missed them last year after the whole cabozzle down in Kildare, and we'll talk about that later on as well. But we have to say, those are the teams that's going to be the tail end of the championship. Let's look at Division 2, and of course we have Meath at the top, Fermanagh, Kildare, Armagh, Donegal, Clare, Tipperary and Cork. Now, I suppose from a Cork point of view, huge county, massive participation in Gaelic games, and their football team is languishing at the bottom of Division 2.
Mm-hmm.
It seems to be, I can't put my finger on what the issue is. You know, the hurlers are going so well, but their footballers seem to be really struggling over the last number of years. They've been beat out the gate by Kerry in the last few years. They're struggling to put a run together in the qualifiers, and it seems as if they're sliding down the divisions, which is very, very strange for many people looking on.
And I suppose the big result in Division 2 had to be Fermanagh going to Donegal.
Yeah, well, I mean, for Fermanagh beating Donegal away, certainly be. Well, I don't think it's a surprise. I mean, Fermanagh have been sort of an informed team throughout the course of the opening part of the league. So, going on form, they would have gone there, hugely confident. And again, I don't know whether it's a case of maybe teams sort of keeping their powder dry in the league. With an eye further down to the championship. So really good win for Fermanagh as well.
I suppose Division 2 is very, very tight. Armagh got their first win. They had a very dubious decision against Clare with the 2 goals, one that should never have been allowed. It was hand passed into the nets, and of course the one at the end where the umpire said it crossed the line, and from an Armagh point of view, I would absolutely say that ball never went across the line. And the funny thing about it, Declan, Armagh had to play an away game. Now Armagh put their hands up last year and said, okay, we went and we done our training. Dublin didn't. Dublin said they went on some sort of a cultural tour of Europe and got away with it. And Armagh had to play an away match in Armagh, believe it or not, because we do know most of Park Esler is in Armagh.
And start that out.
And of course, Armagh, a great win yesterday against Tipperary.
And I know you were at it. You were at it, Damien. So I think we've got some footage from our roving reporter at the game. So if we can have a wee check out of what the highlights of the Armagh game.
Great victory here today for Armagh, 115 to 12 points against Tipperary. It was a great team performance from Armagh, with quite a lot of players contributing to the scoring. Tipperary were a man down halfway through the first half, and a goal from Charlie Vernon after a great team move then really set Armagh on their way, and that was a lead that they didn't surrender until the end of the game. It finished here, Armagh 115, Tipperary 12 points.
Well, there we go, Sinead. A good result for Armagh.
A good result, and I know you'll go into a bit more detail, but I think John Morrison wouldn't have been too far from people's minds. So I know that that win. I think Jim McCrory had said that they dedicated that win to him after the match. But a thrilling game nonetheless.
We did, and to be fair, in the press box we tipped John's chair forward and we hung an Armagh jersey over it. And I have to say, a special word about John Morrison. John Morrison. He's a legend within the GAA, and some of and I think he did manage Antrim. I don't know, Declan, if you were there at the time.
I wasn't there at the time, but I've had the pleasure of being coached by him on a one-off a couple of years ago under Frank Fitzsimmons and Geroid Adams. He came in for a couple of sessions, and some of the things he brought to the training session. We're training with tennis balls. Instead of GAA balls, and it's making you think. I think he was a character within the GAA.
And I think there's also a great story about him bringing the lads into Casement Park, into the inner sanctum of the Casement Park, and then telling everybody to lie on the ground, and he switched the lights off, and he says, empty all your negative thoughts, and then he couldn't find the light to switch the light back on again. But John I think he was a man maybe 20 years ahead of everybody else, because teams are now doing stuff that he was doing with teams 20 years ago. Mm-hmm. The man was a genius, and even in the press box in Armagh, he would have been telling you what was going on. He would have been passing you notes, and he could see things that was happening even before they happened. And he was a brilliant mind. He was a brilliant fella, and he'll be sadly missed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's not by chance that he was involved in many of the best teams in Ireland. In the coaching setups, he's absolutely one of the best there was, and probably one of the best there will be.
I don't think you'll ever have anybody like him, and if you go back through all the social media last week talking about him and all the great players, and Kieran MacDonald from Mayo, he was in Armagh a couple of weeks ago, and Kieran MacDonald, one of the best players that I've ever seen playing football. Probably should have won in All Ireland, but unfortunately didn't. And John and Patrick went down to see him, and Kieran McDonald, they had a great chat. And John Morrison was telling me that Kieran McDonald was the only player in Mayo when he was managing that he never had to warm down because the kids were getting their autographs signed. So a great tribute for a great man, and he'll be sadly missed, no doubt. But Armagh, they done well yesterday. Tipperary got a man sent off early in the first half. Brian Fox, it was for I suppose a little punch, as Stevie Malone described it, a friendly punch in the tummy. You know, and in the scale of a 1 to 10, it was probably a 1. But I suppose, strictly speaking, by the letter of the law, if you strike, you go. And the linesman spotted it and he went off. Did that affect how Tipperary played? Maybe a wee bit, but I still think Armagh were far better and they would have won the game anyway. And they did finish strong, so a good result for Armagh, and it puts Armagh in a good position. They're sitting now 4th, and a big match next weekend again, Donegal away, so that will be another tough one.
I think Armagh are a team you'll have to watch out for this year. You know, I played against them this year in the McCullough Cup, and I was hugely impressed by them. I think, McGeeney has a lot on his shoulders. He hasn't won a Ulster Championship game as manager of Armagh, and they're going in against their old age rivals this year, and I would expect Armagh to do good things this year and go far into the championship.
There we go. So we've got a tip from Antrim for Armagh, and now we go Division 3. Sinead, this is we're down sitting second, joint top with Louth, believe it or not. Yep. Louth, and then Westmeath, Longford, Laois, Offaly, Carlow and Sligo. Sligo sitting with no points. That's hard to believe. And Down, brilliant result for Down away yesterday.
Yeah, excellent result. That makes it 3 wins out of 4 for Down. Winning 3-7 to 0-8 away to Longford. So I think Down, maybe you're hitting a bit of form. They were missing a lot of their more experienced players in their opening couple of games. So it's good to see the likes of Keelan Mooney back and Kevin McKernan and the likes of those players as well. But I think we can't talk about the Down game and not give special mention to my own club comrade Donald O'Hare for his hat-trick, and as well, obviously, I mean, all the media this over the last couple of days has been about Rory Burns, the keeper. Penalty save and 3 absolute world-class saves to follow that up, so definitely star performance from Rory Burns in nets as well.
Look, there's no doubt, goalkeeping, since Stephen Cluxton has come on the scene, goalkeeping is such a crucial part of football now. And you're sitting laughing, I know what you're thinking about here. But I suppose from a goalkeeper's point of view, possession is vital. But with the mark being introduced now and the ball being kicked out, and I know you sort of like the mark, but as a defender you don't. But it has been a revelation.
No, it has, and I think as you said, Stephen Cluxton started the trend in goalkeeping, and it's been brought on by Rory Began and Niall Morgan. Goalkeeping seems to be now more about 100% possession rather than actually being in nets and saving shots. You can see last year the Laois goalkeeper coming forward, scoring a few points. Morgan scored a point from play 2 weeks ago against Roscommon, and Rory Began's, he does it week in, week out in terms of his free kicks. But I think nowadays goalkeeping seems to be, probably the most important position on the pitch. Well,
I know when I was managing underage teams, a good goalkeeper was always vital, because a good goalkeeper is as good as a good forward. If he can catch a ball, and if he can kick a ball out, and if he can ping a pass to somebody that's free, very, very important. So goalkeeping, gone are the times where you would have put the player who wasn't the fittest into goals. Now the goalkeeping is such a crucial part of the team, and you've mentioned someone, even the Mayo goalkeeper against Dublin the other night, he stopped about 7 goals. And if they had went in, Mayo just would have been blown off the park, but done brilliant work. So we're
sorry, but just before we come off that, just looking forward to Down's next couple of fixtures. So they'll be away. Sorry, they're at home to Offaly. Offaly have to come to Newry next week, and then St Patrick's weekend they're away to Carlow. Tough games, it will be hard, but I think Down have got a bit of momentum now, and with the players coming back into the fold, you'd expect them to.
And of course, when you mentioned Carlow, we have a big Down connection there as well.
Well, that's it. I mean, Stevie Poacher, who will be, he will know Down inside out, training training Carlo. So it'll be a tough ask for now, no doubt. And Stevie will have the Carlo team well drilled, as all Stevie Poacher teams are. But I think just if Down are hitting a bit of form, which I think they are, we should be expecting a win.
So there we go, and then we go to Division 4, where Declan, we have Derry sitting at the top, Leitrim, believe it or not, Wicklow, Limerick, Antrim, London, Waterford and Wexford. And of course your opening game was again Derry, and Derry stole that game at the end.
Yeah, well, it's probably tough for me to speak about this one. We went into the campaign full of optimism, full of hope, and we started the campaign against Derry, and we played against the wind the first half. A hurricane more than a wind, and we went in. And the second half we came out and dragged it level. A few dubious decisions, some would say, but we'll not get into that. And Derry stole it. Well, probably stole it's a strong word, but we were level going into injury time, and they nicked a point. They're unbeaten from then. It could have been us, but we lost our first 3 games, which was a struggle. And to be quite honest, we played extremely well in 2.5 of them games. Second half against Wexford, we didn't turn up, and the Leitrim was as good a performance as we've put together in the last number of years. And I don't know how we didn't come out of Carrick-on-Shannon without 2 points. And fair play to Leitrim. They've got their house in order. They've Harry Hyland in as manager this year, a Cavan man, and they've really grown from strength to strength. I think they might have won their last 2 games by a point in injury time, and that's a sign of a team that are going well and full of confidence.
So I have to say, Sinead Reel, great work, folks, and Michael McMullen picking a keeper now, the most important player, and Angela McConville, good job, folks. So people starting to talk about us here, and that's what we want. We want people talking because we have a good campaign going here. Thanks to Sinead. Sinead has been the driving force behind this. But Declan, before we go off Antrim, I just want to sort of pick round the whole Antrim thing. Antrim is a huge county, huge population. Belfast, and I know obviously with Casement Park not being built yet, and hopefully it will, but that's not really a factor in how the Antrim teams perform. What is the crux with the Antrim team? Because in my opinion, Antrim should be up there. Antrim should not be languishing in Division 4.
Yeah, and I've heard that many a time. I've heard the saying that Antrim are too good for Division 4. That could be correct, but when's really the last time Antrim are out of Division 4 for a sustained period of time? We have a great bunch of players, and it was seen when St Galls went on and won the All Ireland. A team from Belfast winning the All Ireland Club Championship is absolutely phenomenal. But for some reason, whether it's the culture, whether it's the continuous turnover of players,
could it be the actual turnover of players? Because I know, looking at McGeaney and his outfit, he's got a bunch of fellas that are 2 or 3 years. He's got most of them there's 2 or 3 years, and he's working hard with them. And if you have a turnover of a squad all the time, it's very, very hard. Yeah,
it's vital important to get a good base and structure there in terms of players. But over the last 3 years, we've had numerous players come in and make their debut, which is great. It's great for Antrim. Anyone that gets the chance to play for their county, regardless of what county they are, it's an absolute great achievement. But even from the start of the league campaign, we've lost 5 or 6 players. It probably doesn't help in terms of putting a run of games together and a run of wins. But we're proud Saffrons, and we'll continue to put on that jersey and continue to fight for Antrim.
Brilliant, absolutely love that, proud Saffrons. And of course, St Ennis, got to the All Ireland Intermediate final, and we talk about goalkeepers in the semi-final. The goalkeeper from I can't remember who they were playing, but he came out and he got a bad pass, missed the ball, and then the big man in the middle of the field caught the ball and chipped from middle of the field and into an empty net.
Yeah,
brilliant.
It was great. One of my young clubmen is over St Ennis this year, Frank Fitzsimmons, which is he's done great work with that St Ennis team, but they done absolutely fantastic in getting to an All Ireland final, and the whole county were rooting for them. They just come up short, but getting to play at Croke Park for your club is an absolute once in a lifetime achievement.
It's a great memory, and they've done fantastically well. And not alone did Antrim get behind them, I think the whole of the country got behind them, you know. And when you look at the history, obviously in Ennis, and the tragedy that was involved with the club all over the years, and you know, there's a good friend of mine, Eamon Prenter. I went to college with him, and that's his club, and I'm sure they were very proud of the whole lads running out in Crow Park. And there's no doubt about it, when you go out into Crow, as we said, where we come from, up in the big field, when you get up to the big field, hey, that's some achievement, you know. And they come up short, but hey, they got there, and they done themselves proud, and they done their county proud, and well done to them. And we haven't heard the last of them, because I think didn't they get pulled out in the first round of the preliminary Ulster or the Antrim Championship, Senior Championship as well?
Yeah, the championship draw was just done there last week. Excuse me, and they drew Ahagallon in the preliminary round, which will be interesting. But I'm sure they're full of confidence, and that All Ireland run has given them massive ambition to go on and go one step further and compete for a senior championship.
And of course, when we talk about Ahagallon and that part of the country, a very special young lady walked out on the pitch with you yesterday.
Absolutely, young Zara. What a day! Not just for Zara, but for the whole of Antrim. You know, having an All Ireland champion walk out with us. We were probably more prouder to walk out with her than she was to walk out with us.
Brilliant.
It was absolutely brilliant.
It was fantastic, and well done to everybody involved. It's brilliant. And of course, that's just going to bring me, I'm going to divert towards Scór now, because Scór is another cultural part of our organisation that we probably don't hear enough about. And you know, the reason why I'm talking about this is I got involved with my own club last year, and I would have been one of those that would have been sitting on the sidelines and saying, Scór, what's Scór? You know, but when you sit and you look at the effort that was put in, and I know one of the girls in our club, this is our 35th year continuously competing in Scór for our club, looking after teams and singing and dancing and all sorts of things, and she's back at it again. And the Scór's on all over the country at the minute, and it's it's another part of the organisation that we probably don't hear an awful lot about, but you know, it's great and it's brilliant to get involved in. And I would say to anybody out there, you know, give it a shot, because the crack is 90 when you're learning your lines, or you're dancing, or you're singing, whatever it is. And trust me, when you get on the stage, it's like getting on a football field. You want to win.
Absolutely.
Exactly. Well, I think, you know, we probably don't give Scór as much attention, you know, as we should. Obviously, you know, football, hurling and camogie and all the rest of it maybe steals the headlines all too often. But I think it reflects, you know, the huge benefit that, you know, the GAA is to communities, and whether you're, you know, you don't have to be sporting. You know, there's other avenues for you to explore, for you to represent your club, for you to represent your county, your province, and all the rest of it. So I think it just reflects you know, the huge community and holistic benefit that the GAA, you know, that our organisation is. You know.
I have to say,
and we have to. Sorry, or we're talking about Scór. We have to give a special mention, as we're in this part of the world, to Aoife Trainer from Clondalk. It's very successful. Won the Scór and Oak last weekend. So a big cohortus again to Aoife and all her family and everybody from Clondalk.
yeah, it's fantastic, and I did see her performance, and she sang, oh holy heavens, it was fantastic. It would have brought a tear to your eye. Brilliant. And of course, they're interacting with us here, and Michael McMullen is saying, Derry, there's too big a turnaround, and Derry players continues. But we have to say, you know, Derry have been fairly smart this year. They've taken the games out of Celtic Park, and they're playing them in round the club pitches in round South Derry. And I know in Derry there is this, you know, the city and the where does North Derry end and South Derry begin, and now they're bringing the games round, which is a fantastic thing as well. So Derry's starting to do okay. They're starting to get the results.
I think there's a big plus there for Derry this year, in terms that they had the Slot Neil boys available from the start of the league. The last number of years they've been with their club preparing for an All Ireland Championship, and they've had the Slot Neil boys there from the start, which has given them a massive bonus.
And of course, their Camogie team, phenomenal. And of course, when we talk about Camogie, Sinéad, we'll have to go to Clondalk.
Again, another big weekend coming up for Clondalk. This weekend, Clondalk Camogues in the All Ireland Club final. I mean, again, they'll not get it easy up against the Waterford side.
Yeah, but I mean, look, it's an All-Ireland final, and you don't win All-Ireland finals easy, that's for sure.
Well, I mean, came through Clonduff, or came through Hilltown there during the week, and I mean, the town is just, the village is buzzing. All the flags out, all the bunting out, all the well wishes, and I know that the team are well drilled, a lot of experienced girls there. You've got the Carr sisters, Paula O'Hagan as well, and a wealth of experienced players, as well as a good mix of youth as well. So huge well wishes to Clonduff at the weekend, and with all luck they'll be bringing another cup back to Clonduff Club.
So on behalf of everybody here, good luck Clonduff at the weekend. We hope you do it. And of course, another fantastic achievement from the girls just over in Hilltown there. I have to say, when we think about our own, the size of Ireland, okay, some people think it's not a big country, but it is when you're trying to win All Ireland, that's for sure. Or whatever it is, football, camogie, handball, hurling, whatever it is. And Clonduff now are just 60 minutes away from an All Ireland title.
Absolutely. The whole county is fully behind them. There's a lot of great buzz. I mean, there's nothing beats being in a final. So again, just reiterating what you said, Damien, we, best of luck to Clonduff, and we hope there's another cup back in the club this weekend.
Thumbs up from all here for Clonduff, that's for sure. And of course, the green room is full here, and they're telling us we've only 10 minutes. I'm only getting warmed up here, so we could be sitting here for another hour, but we've only 10 more minutes left. But what I'm going to talk about now, I'm going to talk about social media and within the GAA. There's podcasts going all around the place, and we talk about organisations not showing our games, the biggest participation of sport on this island. And of course, when we look at some of the counties having their own streaming facilities, podcasts, bringing the games out, that's a fantastic thing. Because think about this, Declan. 10 years ago, that couldn't have happened. Now you can stream. This here has been streamed around the world and back again. This is tomorrow in Australia, and it's today somewhere else, and yesterday some other place, part of the world as well. So the power of being able to stream is something that the GAA need to grasp.
Absolutely. It's brilliant. It gives the players, it gives the whole association exposure that it didn't have, and it gives it that much needed exposure, because obviously our games aren't being picked up as they should be.
And just as we are doing here tonight, we're giving exposure here tonight, and it's not a big thing to do, but we're sitting here and we're putting this game out, and it's going out all around the world. And I have to say it's brilliant to be involved in this, Sinéad, and I think it's a fantastic thing you're doing. I wish you well in how you continue to do this. Yes, the Gaels of Ulster deserve better. There's no doubt about that.
Absolutely, and I mean, credit has to go to yourself, because I know you're a big force in Armagh TV as well, and providing that vital service too. And I think clubs and counties and are just they know that Gaelic games is something that people want to watch. It's not like soccer or other sports where you maybe follow one team and that's your team. People want to see the games. There's a huge appetite to view them. So the audience is there. And I think part of what our campaign is trying to get the BBC to recognise that there's a really good, for want of a better word, product there that people want to see.
Look, Sinead, there's a huge product out there. There is no question about it. And from my experience over the years, and we've done this many years ago ourselves, yourself and myself, I can say that the interaction that we get from social media after we do a game is phenomenal, and it is just amazing the amount of feedback we get. And you just think of this, we have players, like there's 6 of our senior ladies in Sydney, and there's other clubs all around Ireland has players away from home. Once we go and put a game out there, for that time that we're live in the air, those people are with us. They're sitting in Armagh, they're sitting in Newry, they're sitting in Belfast, they're sitting wherever it is. We're bringing them home, and we're a link. And and I think that is so important, and that's a massive thing, particularly from a GAA point of view. And as you said, we're slightly different from all other sports, because if you go to Australia, Canada, America, any part of the world, and you go and get involved in the Gaelic club, you'll not be lonely, and you'll not be wanting anything, because there's somebody there always to help you, and that's huge. And I think that's a big thing that the GAA has.
Yeah, and I think, we don't have to overthink things, in terms of podcasts and social media and things like that. They're a very simple way of improving, GAA output is radio. And if we think about how our games are broadcast on radio, they're broadcast on FM. And
excuse me.
Exactly. I mean, it might as well be smoke signals.
Medium wave.
Medium wave. And that was part of the ask when we met with the BBC. We said, look, you really need to consider the way you put it out. And we'd asked them to consider switching to FM, and we asked them to do something, a magazine type show like what we're doing here now. And we've shown, and you've shown down through the years with the Monday Night Sports Show as well, that it can be done. It can be done if the will's there. And as I said, the audience is most definitely there as well.
Look, there's no doubt about this. We've just got a message in here. Does social media coverage affect the games? I would say, Michael, no, it doesn't, because if I'm going to go to the game, whether it's on television or the radio, I'm going to go. That's for sure. The only time it probably is a help if you can't get to the games. And you have to realise there's a lot of older people who, this time of the year, they don't like going out to games because it's too cold. And I have to say, I prefer the radio than TV, because the radio is a different medium and you can make the game better than it is, and you can just there's a million things you can do with it. You can make a Division 4 game like an All-Ireland final. That happened to me one time up in Cullough, and the game was that good that the fella was listening to it down the road. He got into the car, come up at half time, watched the game, and at the end of the match he come over to us and he was going to throttle us because he says that wasn't the game I was listening to down the road. But it's just, the GAA is a very special product. It's a unique product, and I just hope that for all time that's coming, that the GAA catch themselves on and keep this product. Do not bend to the money thing, because I think money corrupts sport. And when you look at the rugby, when it went professional, you look what's happening in the Premiership at the minute, all those things. And from what we do, and from the GAA's point of view, it's an absolute unique thing. And long may it continue. But it's getting harder.
Yeah.
I think when you touched on the money issue there, I think looking at Congress there at the weekend, I think that's something that the GAA must look at. There was an easy win for the GAA, and they listened to the money.
Yeah, they did, because Donegal brought a motion in that Dublin don't play all their games with the Super 8. If they get to the Super 8, they have to get there first in Croke Park. This was like Congress, like turkeys voting for Christmas. They agreed that Dublin should stay in Croke Park. That's not fair on other teams, and it's a gripe from my point of view. I just don't believe that Dublin have the right to play in Croke Park all the time. Yes, they bring a crowd in, there's no doubt about that, but go back to Mayo last year and Kildare. Kildare stood their ground. We're not going to Croke Park, and the game was eventually played in Newbridge, and they beat Mayo. And what can we say about that? But Kildare was 100% right. They done the right thing, and it had nothing to do with Mayo. And I think it sort of probably affected Mayo. The championship missed Mayo last year in the Super 8s, and I'm not sure, Declan, how you stand on the Super 8s. I'm still not convinced of them.
I think it's going to take a few years to actually see if it's a positive or a negative. Last year's Super 8s, there was very few meaningful games in it. A lot of the games were dead rubber, or just weren't up to the level that many thought they were going to be. And it might have been that Donegal against Dublin in the first game, that would have been a much closer game if that would have been taken out of Croke Park, because Donegal were right up there until a certain stage. And it's unfair that if you win your provincial championship, like Donegal did, they were made to go to Croke Park for a neutral game.
Yeah, and it's not fair. There's no doubt. Dublin definitely have the edge going to Croke Park because they play all their games there. And, it's just... And I suppose, looking at a couple of other things, we look at Dublin playing in Croke Park, we look at the Championship, we look at the Munster Championship. Kerry have a shoe-in every year to the Super 8s without even stretching themselves. The way the Championship is set up with your provinces, it's not fair, because Kerry get an easy run in to they'll always win Munster. There's no doubt about that. And as we look at Cork is languishing at the bottom of Division 2, looking as if they're going to fall into Division 3. So they're not going to be a big threat. Probably Tipperary would be a bigger threat to Kerry down there than Cork. So it's an easy step up. Going up into Ulster here, every game in Ulster is a battle. Every game. You couldn't even say if Antrim's playing Armagh in the Championship, you'd say maybe Armagh, maybe not. You just don't know. Every game is a battle. And even going over into Connacht as well, with Mayo and Galway and Roscommon, and now even Leitrim. So it's tough over there as well. Going down to Leinster, Dublin just...
But I think, that's... You're saying there, every game in Ulster is a competitive game. And I think for the coverage last year, and of course this year now as well, to be cut from 7 live games to 2 is a huge blow. I mean, it's people look forward to the Ulster games because they know they're going to be exciting, they know they're going to be competitive. Form and all the rest goes out the window. You're playing your neighbours, and it's just you throw caution to the wind. But they're all competitive games, and I think that was a big own goal by the BBC to go down that road.
Yeah,
I think hopefully, because we've met with the GAA as well, and we spoke about money and different things as well, and I don't presume to speak for the GAA. They're well capable of speaking for themselves, but I know through our conversations, the way they view it is how best the games can be packaged and promoted and looked after and all the rest of it, and that's really their number one concern. So I think if the BBC or anybody else can come forward with a good proposal and a good package and a good way to present the games, I think they'll get a receptive ear.
Well, look, I don't see any issue with that at all. But is the desire there? That's the question.
Well, that's it, yeah.
And from a Gael's point of view, I don't see that. And I'd be disappointed because we do like to sit down and watch the Ulster Championship on television. If the games is on, we can't get them, and obviously with the crowd control and all that, if it's a sellout, you're not going to get them. But hey, if there's a game on, you're going to sit and watch it. And it doesn't matter if it's Armagh or Down or Armagh and Antrim or whatever. Mm-hmm. You sit and watch it, and that's what we like. So I would be saying to the BBC, lads, you just need to up your game here.
It is an issue that needs to be dealt with. The exposure of Gaelic games in the north. It didn't help last year that it was cut, but what also didn't help was that ticket prices were increased.
Yeah.
You're looking at figures there in last year's Ulster Championship that just weren't at the level that people thought they were going to be at. We've seen a massive reduction in terms of people going to the games due to the large spike in prices.
And of course, if you're going out as a family, it's costing a lot of money. Even in the National League, putting the prices up to £19. You can buy them for £15 if you get them before the game. But it's the same people. You go to an Antrim match, go to a Down match, go to an Armagh match, go to a Cavan match, go to a Derry match. The same people go to those games because that's what they do, and they're paying for it. But look, we've talked enough about the men. Let's talk about the ladies now, because Sinéad, you played for Down, and we spoke before about this, and you enjoyed that. And I have to say, from an Armagh point of view, we have Caroline O'Hanlon, who's probably one of the greatest lady footballers ever to grace this land. Yeah. She also plays netball for Northern Ireland, and she also plays netball for, I think, Thunder over in Manchester.
Right.
So she was playing for Armagh at the weekend. And I'm going to blow a wee bit here about this one, because Armagh are the first ladies' county in Ireland to have their own facilities.
Yeah.
And that's all thanks to Sinéad Ree.
It is, and I know, I think Sinead's watching, but Sinead is a very good friend of mine. I played with Sinead in McCullough days, so I know her quite well. I know the type of person she is, and when Sinead sets her mind to something, you better believe it's getting done. So when Sinead took over the chairmanship of Armagh, of the Armagh County Board, you just knew that things were going to change, because that's the type of person she is. But you spoke about Caroline O'Hanlon as well, and of course Armagh a good win at the weekend.
Armagh's going extremely well, yeah. And of course,
set for promotion.
One of the few counties that have an all-ladies management team.
Yeah, I mean, Armagh they've always been sort of that step ahead, and they've always been sort of trendsetters, so it's no surprise to find them in the position they are, and that whole the whole prospect of them grabbing the bull by the horns and saying, do you know what, we need proper facilities, because I know the girls were going from one end of the county to the next, not knowing maybe up until an hour before training where they were going to train, and you're relying on the goodwill, and I know what it's like playing county as well for Down, like you're relying on the goodwill of clubs, and maybe only a handful of clubs will offer you their ground, so there's no consistency, so that's not good for players. People want to know where they're going, what time's training at, and where they're going to be training. So more part of Armagh, and I know the fundraising effort's going well, and with Sinead at the helm and all the support that she gets in the county, it can only be
well, all I can say is Sinead really, you can't say no, because if she sets her mind on doing something, she will do it. And of course, when we look at Armagh, we go over to Down as well, and we Peter Lynch is I'm not sure if he's the manager. Is he I think he might be the manager. And
yeah,
we have
Peter and Kiva Sloan. So you'll know Peter and Kiva, the great success there with Shane O'Neill's. Yeah. So they've switched allegiances now, so they're over to the dark side with Down. But they bring a good wealth of experience, and I think Down through the years have had the problem, and we spoke about it with the men's game, game too, with players coming and going, and there's a very high turnover, and that's something that maybe Armagh hasn't struggled with, and maybe that's helped their success down through the years. But Down would have a very high turnover of players. But you know, Kiva and Peter, with their experience of bringing Shane O'Neill's to an All Ireland club final and an Ulster final as well. So that'll only be good for Down, because what Down need, they need experience, they need consistency, and they need the players to buy into that as well. And I've no doubt the really good players, really good young players, coming through the good breeded team are feeding into the Down team as well. A couple of girls from my own team, my own club in Burn. So the experience is earned Down. I think they just need time to bed in.
Yeah, and of course the same in Antrim as well, because you have I know Breda and what have you, those teams in South Belfast, some of them play for Down and some of them play for Antrim and all that, and it's great for ladies football, because I'm one of those people who sometimes prefer to go to watch a ladies match, and I know there is an argument here, why do we call it ladies football, because we don't call it gentlemen's football, Sinead, and I know this is a bugbear of yours, but it is what it is, I suppose.
I've never met too many ladies playing football, I tell you that. Well, I've got the bruises to prove it.
All I can say is in the county final last year, my daughter got sent to the line at the end because she had to stop somebody going forward, and I mean she did stop her, she took one for the team, and it was probably the right thing to do, but it wasn't. It's not right, but it was the right thing to do, if you know what I mean. But you can't tell people to do that. It's either in them or it's not in them. But girls want to win as well as fellas. There's no doubt about that. And I can tell you now, our senior ladies team at home put in a bigger effort sometimes than our senior men. And I'm sure it's with every other.
Absolutely. I've a massive interest in ladies football. My partner plays for St Paul's, who have won 7 championships in a row in Antrim, who compete on a regular basis in Ulster. She's part of the Antrim ladies football setup. But some of the way that they're treated is just, they're talking about Armagh being treated well and setting up their own committee and stuff like that. The Antrim ladies had to travel to Kilkenny on the day of a game, get up at 7 in the morning and travel. They play a game and they come back, and to be treated like that whenever they have some of the best footballers in Ireland. They just mightn't be getting the exposure.
It's probably not fair. There's no doubt.
Degrading.
Yeah,
but in terms of exposure, because I know, and again, not harping back to Armagh, they've been very good at fighting their corner with the men's county board in terms of getting the games played as a double header.
Yeah, I think we have a double header against Fermanagh.
Yeah, they have a double header against Fermanagh coming up.
And I think Tyrone, Armagh and Tyrone have a double header in the next round.
They do, Park, in Healy. It's going to be the opener to Tyrone Cavan, I think, in Healy Park, and that's St Patrick's weekend.
Yeah, and of course James Daly managed in Cavan as well, who used to manage Armagh as well, so there's a little bit of spice to be added in there.
It's also great to see Dublin and Mayo on women's football on TV. They're shown on Saturday night before the Dublin and men's Dublin and Mayo's men's football game, which is continually exposing and adding extra exposure to the ladies' game.
Oh, look, I have to say, if you haven't been to ladies' match, go out and watch it, and don't sit on the fence and say, oh, go and watch it, because I can tell you now, I have seen some of the most skillful players that have played Gaelic games, and I'm just talking from my own point of view, being at games and seeing Armagh playing, seeing Carrickcruppen playing, going around the counties, and I have seen some fabulous games of football. Caroline O'Hanlon scored 2 of the best goals you'll ever see scored in a county final last year. She chipped the goalkeeper from about 30 or 40 yards, and the next goal she just slammed around about 6 players and put the ball in the back of the net. You just wouldn't see that in men's football. So fantastic, and I have to say, from a point of view, I love the ladies' game, and I hope that Armagh, I know they will get this whole development done up in Killian there, because Sinead Reel's involved in it, and it's fantastic. And hopefully other counties will look at Armagh and say, look, if they can do it, we can do it.
Absolutely, yeah.
I know we're rattling on here, and I know the boys in the green room here, they want to come in and start talking, but there's some boys out there that don't know a lot about Gaelic, so we'll not bring them on here. Sinead and Declan, it has been a pleasure. I think we've covered everything that we wanted to cover here this evening. Your campaign for the Ulster Gaels here, so I wish you well in it.
Thank you.
You've got my full support in it. I think that you've Declan's full support, and people tuning in here this evening watching this, they will agree, if we can do this, other organisations can do it, and it's not just the BBC, there's other organisations here as well. Don't even look at Gaelic games. Sometimes they don't even mention that the National League was on or the club championships was on. You know, come back to the club championships in Ulster, the best games of football you'll ever see. Phenomenal. Even going back to the Sigerson Cup at the weekend there, where we had St Mary's taking on the might of UCC, you know, and a few dubious calls in the first half. They didn't get, maybe it should have had a penalty, and you know, a small college competing at the highest level, fantastic, and people love to see them games, you know. And we look at what TG Cahir's doing, fantastic, right across the country, and I can tell you now, they have probably the biggest audience over the weekends when them games are on. So, you know, if they can do it, why can other organisations not do it?
Yeah, absolutely. And thanks to you, Damien, for agreeing to be part of it.
Oh, listen, Sinead, it's always delightful to be part of this. I have to say, you know, when we start having Gaelic games, we were told we had, I don't know many minutes, but we've probably overshot the runway here by a fair bit. We're enjoying it. Thanks to everybody for tuning in here. You know, it's easy to do, you know, and, you know, we'll probably do this some other night again. And thanks to Declan for coming here. Sinead, thanks a million.
Thank you, Damien.
And thanks to everybody for tuning in. Thanks to DMC Events for getting us on air here tonight. It has been much appreciated. Thanks to everybody for tuning in. And, you know, get behind this campaign. You know, if we look behind us here, you know, we're all Ulster Gaels. We want parity of esteem. We want to be treated equal like everybody else. Remember, you pay a TV licence out there. You have a say. And if you're paying your TV licence, you have a say. So why not? Why not just write to the BBC and say, why not covering our games? All right?
Yep, you summed it up better than I could.
So, listen, Declan, thanks a million. Much appreciated.
Thank you, Damien.
Sinead, thanks a million.
Thanks,
and thanks to everybody for tuning in. We'll do this sometime soon.
Slán.